Hey everyone, Chad with Rustless Rides. So you're looking for a truck and you want to know what to look for, and you're looking for a used truck like this one here behind us, maybe at a dealership or a private sale. We'll go over a few things with you here real quick. What to look for, where, this is kind of a master class at this point, guys. This thing has frame failure. The problem areas are, unfortunately, I have to have the conversation with this guy now to let him know that this thing is not safe to drive, and that way you can make a good decision on whether you want to buy that vehicle and sort of save your money. So stay tuned, and we will get the information you're looking for. A little bit of background on me. Some of you know me, some of you don't, but actually probably most of you don't. I've got 37 years or over 37 years of automotive experience. Everything from building high-end show cars to paint and body, ASE certified mechanic, and everything in between. So I bring a lot of knowledge to this channel, and I'm just trying to get you guys some information so you know what to look for, what questions to ask, and so you can make better decisions on your automotive vehicles, on how to protect them or what you're wanting to do with them. So if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll move on to the video. Okay, so you're looking at a used vehicle or a truck. This is a perfect example of what to look for in some of the common problems, especially on the Chevrolet trucks. But this kind of applies to most all manufacturers, so you can use this on a lot of different platforms. So customer just brought me this truck and told me, one, he just bought it. He wanted me to look at it. Two, he looked it over and his mechanic looked it over and said it had some rust. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through and show you that. And also he said this thing has been rust proofed. So that definitely plays into where we're at currently with this current business. So I'm going to walk you through here real quick on what to look for, and then I'll do a separate video if you guys were interested in the undercoating side of this, so you can look at that as well. So, or watch that as well, I should say. But stay tuned. We'll get this thing up in the air, and then we'll show you what to look for. All right, guys, we'll start first here. Obviously, engine bay. Just a couple quick things to look for is, one, grounding straps or anything grounding. Just do a quick check of your battery terminals, see if they're corroded. Like this one here. That doesn't take that hard. It doesn't take that much to clean those. Also, look at your connecting hardware. If you're seeing this much rust on these bolts like this, even down here behind the battery, if you can see that bolt right there that I'm pointing to, it's got substantial rust on it. That's a quick indicator of what the rest of the vehicle is probably going to look like. You're going to be looking for water leaks on the water pump. You're going to be looking for oil leaks, which you'll see that from underneath. The stuff like this is what you really want to look for, especially on the GMs. The GM hasn't painted a frame since the late 90s, and the coating, as you can see here, it's pretty much all come off, and that frame is completely rusted. That's one thing to look for. Grounding straps, the strap right here, you want to look at it and make sure that it has good connections. Because bad grounds on these newer vehicles will wreak havoc on computer systems, codes, and drivability issues. And again, we're going to look for bolts like these here and see how they're rusted, and look for any rust or any crinkling or discolored areas on the inner fenders. That's going to tell you if this panel has been replaced or not. So if this is black, or if it doesn't look the same as the driver's side or the passenger side, or if there's any differential, chances are the vehicle's been wrecked and they've had a different fender put on it. So now, again, you can see how much rust is on the bottom of this hood. Obviously this is a steel hood, but I'm just looking right here around the latch. This is stuff that's easily looked at when you're looking at a vehicle. So now we're going to pause this for a second, and I'm going to move the vehicle up in the air, and then we'll get up underneath it, and I'll show you what to really look for on the bottom side. Okay, we're going to look in the driver's side inner fender, and you want to look at this on both sides in the front. Okay, I pointed out earlier, this is the exact strut tower and shock tower, or spring tower, I should say, on the driver's side. You see all that rust on the inside? Okay, now, this has had some sort of paint put on it. Also, you can see the condition of this upper control arm and that bushing. Someone's just fogged some paint on this thing and called it underproofed or rust proofed. As you can get in here, you can start seeing the rust down through here. And this is a quick, easy, simple thing that you guys can look for and look at. And then again, you can see the frame here on how it's scaled up. We call them rust rings. I have another video here if you're interested in that. But okay, now let's move to the back. Okay, guys, this is the same for the GMCs or the Chevrolets, and most all manufacturers has cross members, especially the tube style. I mean, this is a GMC Sierra here. But I want to show you something here. This is like I said, this is the easy stuff that you can spot when you look at these. Again, we're going to look at this seam right here. This is the edge of the bed. This, you can see how this is rusted. You want to look at the inside of these cross members here. If you can get to them, you can see how there's almost nothing in there and it's not been protected. And again, this thing has been rust proofed. Okay, now here's where it gets into the structural stuff. Okay, this, you see this tube right here? I'm gonna try to get this camera in here to where you can see all the way across. Look at the rust and corrosion up in there. This right here is a common failure point for most all vehicles with the box structures, whether it be round tube, rectangle tube, or box frames in general. They rust from the inside out. And so you can really see how much garbage, rust is up in there. And that's a lot. So this actually cross member is pretty thin. So that's quick, easy stuff that you guys can look for. And the same for this one back here. It's not as bad, but you can really see the rust back up in there. So let's move to some other areas here that's easily inspected, and we'll show you what to look for. Okay, so now this is kind of a perspective here of laying on the ground, looking up underneath it. Because guys, you really do want to get down and look up underneath your vehicles, because this is the stuff that most people don't look at when they buy a vehicle, and it can get them in trouble later. Okay, this rocker panel here. This is called your rocker panel. These things are notorious for rusting out because they're multi-piece. They have an outer and an inner, and there's very little distance in between. You can see this one here is rusted heavily, and you can see where someone has painted this to try to hide it. Okay, that being said, moving back forward, just overall, look at the panel. You have a seam coming all the way down, all of a sudden that seam disappears. This is not right. So here's the difference. That's metal and this is Bondo. So this panel has been attempted to be fixed. And you can see, I don't know if the camera shows it, but you can see where the coloration is different here, where they tried to fog and so-called blend this paint in. Also, look at the frame. Look for rust. I mean, this is typical on the Chevrolets and the GMs because of the coating they put on them. It's not a matter if it comes off, it's when. This is what it looks like once it come off. And somebody supposedly rust-proofed this, but it looks like all the rust-proofing was some sort of like Rust-Oleum paint or something. That's all they did was just spray some paint on it and call it rust-proof. So again, in the inside of these frames, look at the garbage. Here, come around. This right here is literally what I just took my finger and pulled out of the inside of that frame. So that tells you how decomposed the inside of that box frame is. Most all of them, remember, most all modern vehicles rust from the inside out. So when you're dealing with rust proofing and rust prevention on vehicles, you can't just spray what you can see. You have to focus on what you can't see, the inside of the box structures. And that is what has always traditionally been so daggone hard to protect. You know, all the way back from when the box structures started becoming popular, unibodies and so on. You know, getting product in there to properly protect is not easy. Well, thankfully we have guns and equipment now that we can do that. So that's the advantage now that we've never had in the past. But this right here just exactly shows. I mean, literally all I did was look in here and then I see how much is here. Just to stick my finger in the hole. You know, look at this. I mean, that's just pure garbage, and that's what's left of the coating that's come off. So I'm gonna have a long day here of blowing this stuff out and try to get this garbage out so we can get some product on the inside of this frame to protect it. So it's, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move to the passenger side real quick, and I wanna show you what this rocker panel looks like so you can kind of understand what to look for. Okay guys, now we're on the passenger side here. You know, I wish I could say that all auto shops and mechanics and body shops are reputable and honest. You know, this right here is a prime example of one not being. The shady work has been done to this truck. Really shady. It's just, you know, obviously, you know, the customer bought something they really didn't know what to look for. And I'm hoping this video will help you with that. At a quick glance here, I mean, you don't have to be an expert body man to know that this isn't right on the driver's side. But this right here is what I'm talking about. See how that crimp comes all the way down here and then steps in here? That is not there on the driver's side. And as soon as I raised this up, that jumped out at me. Also, all the plugs are gone. All the plugs are gone. I can also see up in there to where this thing has been painted over top of to try to hide some of this rust. You can actually see the paint up in the hole where the plugs are missing. So, and also just like the other side, reach up in here and feel, and this right here is rusted. You can also look at the frame, see how heavily pitted and how heavily rusted this is. Again, it's black, it's all one color, just literally because they took some sort of paint, I don't know what they used, it almost looks like Rust-Oleum, and sprayed over top of it. You can literally see the rust rings from where the original coating, that paraffin wax coating, came off of these. Okay, let's see how bad this frame is. It's not quite as bad, but you can see all that stuff coming out the bottom of that frame hole right there? That's just for me taking my finger and moving around. That's how much garbage is on the inside of that frame on the bottom. You know, just, it's okay to look at your stuff. And I just found this frame has failed, completely failed. But meanwhile, I'll show you that here in a second. We're going to come on since we're going to do this as what to look for video. Okay, guys, camera glitched here for a second, so we're going to pick it up where we left off. Again, you can see how bad this thing is scaled, and looks like someone has attempted to hide a lot of this rust with a rattle can of some sort. Also, you can tell this panel has had paint sprayed on it to hide it. You see the discoloration here? When you start seeing the light and dark areas and the paint, see how it's pitted? That's not coated correctly. And so that's also a way that you can tell that this thing has been some sort of paint put on it. Also, you can see the blisters here. Blisters on newer vehicles. If you have a blister, I'm here trying to get this to where you guys can see it. Okay, when you start seeing blisters like this, okay, to repair this, it's a hole. This metal is so thin on the newer vehicles that once you start getting blisters like this, you got holes here. So this cab corner is going to be replaced. But they didn't replace the rocker panel. That's why this seam, that stamped seam, comes all the way back to the back of the cab corner like it's supposed to. Looking at the driver's side, that's a quick, easy indicator of there's been body work or body work has been attempted to do to try to fix rust. Okay, when you see work like that, that should be a first red flag of, okay, something's been done to this truck. Let me look further, because I won't get in that here in a minute. I just teased a minute ago. This thing has frame failure. So I'm gonna have to call this guy and let him know that he probably needs to bring a wrecker to pick this thing up. Sadly, he drove the truck here. So we'll get into that here in a second. Moving to the back. Okay, this is other stuff that's really easy to look. Stay here and I'll kind of get around here so we can show this. Okay, the coating on the GM trucks and vehicles, it's not a matter if it comes off, it's when. And this is a prime example. You know, this right here, I just barely touched this, and this is what's coming off. This is your rear shackle for your leaf spring. Also, your rear leaf mount. You know, it's just, look at this. You just touch it, and the scale is coming off. So this bracket right here that holds the weight of the back of the vehicle is on its way out. It's very, very, very thin. So when you start seeing stuff that look like this, unless you're in a situation where you can't afford to find something better, you can get by with this for a little while if it doesn't have the frame failure. And again, you can look up in here and see the rust on the actual body itself on the bed. And this is stuff that you can do from a quick basic search from laying under the vehicle. You don't have to have a lift like this to look for this stuff. Just get on the ground, slide up underneath the vehicle and look at it. I mean, obviously someone did put a new hitch on this thing, so I don't know if the customer did it or the dealership did it. But yeah, let's just leave it at that. Okay, so we're going to have you come around back here. I'm going to show you a quick glimpse on the inside of the frame. Okay, so to recap, I've showed you the rocker panels, what to look for, the outside of the frame, what to look for on driver and passenger side. Where's the back of the vehicle here now? I just started over here on the passenger side with the spring shackle and what to look for. Okay, now we're at the driver's side. You know, you can see the driver's side's the same way. And if you look up in here, you can see how much rust is actually on the inside of this bed. You know, this right here is pretty much failure point around the taillights. It's delaminated to that point. Now, a quick glimpse of the inside of the frame. If you look right here between the spare tire and this hitch, you can see back up in that frame. You can see how everything is delaminated and how much rust is in there. That is a bad sign for a truck this age. I'll have the truck, the year of the truck and the description. But you can see here, okay, now let's come up underneath the vehicle here. You can look at all this stuff from laying underneath the vehicle. So you're right here, you're directly underneath the rear spare tire. Okay, look at the scale, look at the rust. Look how much garbage is in this here. This right here is your bump stop. I mean, that is nothing but dirt, crud, and rust. And I guarantee you the driver's side, the passenger side is going to be the same way. Yep, look here. Okay, this right here is scale from the inside of the frame. And this has just been me taking my finger and coming through here and pulling what's in there out. That's rust, mud, and dirt. That's also these areas right here, the capture of this type of stuff is why this stuff rusts out the way that it does as well. Okay, the front cross member for the bed. This is the one I showed you that had all that rust on the inside of it. This is what it looks like from underneath. You can see how much scale and delamination there is. You can see how the hole here is partially blocked from all the rust and scale that has fell down from the inside of this tube and pretty much blocked the hole. You can also see back up in here for your shock mount, how bad it is rusted from the inside. And this is just kind of the typical rust side of this. I mean, obviously this one is pretty far gone. Okay, we're gonna look up here. Now this is where we get into the rust proofing side of this as well. Look at this. This is the problem with encapsulating paints and paints. You know, it's when you spray them over top of it, unless the surface is properly prepped, it's not gonna stick. And it actually causes worse problems than if you sprayed nothing at all. Sad truth, but that's the truth of it. This just shows you how much this is peeling off. Every one of those light spots, guess what? It's gonna look like that soon. That's where the paint is delaminating, and this is really thin. Okay, so now we've kind of showed you the shackles, rear of the vehicle, your cross members for your frame, and your shock mounts. Okay, this is stuff that, again, you can easily look for when you're up under the vehicle, laying underneath it and crawling under it. You know, this is kind of a master class at this point, guys. But now I'm going to get into the point which is really, really important for you guys to really know what to look for. The frame failure. Okay, guys, to recap, you know, I've showed you the passenger side, I've showed you the driver's side, I've showed you the rear. Now we're up under the heart of the vehicle. We're up underneath the center section of the frame and the body. Now, before I go much further, I'm going to do a sound check for you guys. Listen to the difference. This is a tool I use a lot around here. It's a chip and hammer. And sadly, I use this to test frames. So I want you to listen to the difference. Passenger, driver. Side of the frame, passenger. Driver. Can you hear the difference? One sounds like a snare drum. The other one has that kind of ringing metal sound to it. Now, I teased you a minute ago about the frame failure. Now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, this is the passenger side of the vehicle. Again, you can see where someone has painted or undercoated this here. They sprayed, I guarantee you this is Rust-Oleum because it didn't harden. This is a soft paint. So someone just took Rust-Oleum and painted over top of this, and you can see what's underneath. Bare rust. You can see all the rust rings from where the original GM coating was delaminating and coming off. Again, this just reinforces the point of why you've got to get protective coatings on these newer vehicles. Okay, now you can see this edge here. This is the inside of your frame. This is what I was pecking on a minute ago with that chip and hammer. Okay, we're going to come here more towards the front, and you can see how this is bent. And then you can see how this is delaminated. And again, you can just take your knuckles. I'm not saying punch this daggone thing, but just peck on it. And you can hear it. Now, we're going to have you back up here a little bit. Okay, this is where the safety really comes into this, guys. This is why you really need to do your due diligence. Get up underneath these vehicles and look at them. Unfortunately, I have to have the conversation with this guy now to let him know that this thing is not safe to drive because it has frame failure. This thing is beyond fixing. So now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, I know some guys are probably going to argue with me on this. It can be fixed. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend fixing this frame. I've been doing this for over 37 years. I remember what it's like clipping frames. And then again, you're rusting. You're trying to weld material to almost nothing. It's paper thin, guys. This one isn't fixable. Here we go. Frame is gone. That's what I was pecking on a minute ago. The hole's completely through. That means this entire lower section of the frame is paper thin. This thing has failed. Here, you can actually see where this is swelled down a little bit, where it's already starting to buckle under the weight of the vehicle. This right here, I can literally bend it with my fingers. Okay, this was from the outside, remember? We showed you that big pile. This is from the inside. And you can look up in there and see all the rust. Guys, this frame is gone. As soon as I looked up under it from the passenger side, I seen the holes. So this vehicle is beyond fixing at this point. It needs a new frame. And honestly, if I start pecking on all this right here, as much delamination as I can see here through these holes, and as thin as this front cab mount is, again, all I'm doing is touching this stuff, guys. Look at the scale that come off. And you can see all the rust. Like I said, this is a phone call I hate to have one with clients, but you know, this is the safety side of this that we bring to the table that some of our competitors don't. So guys, I hope you learn a little bit from this video. Hope you understand now a little bit more what to look for and kind of how to look for stuff. And if it doesn't look right, it's probably right to question it. You know, if it's the deal of the century, it's the deal of the century, but you don't want to waste your money either. And that's the bottom line nowadays. Cost of living is too daggone high now. Let's keep everything we've got to put it towards something good. So guys, if you got any questions or if I can help you anything out, if you got some value out of this content, hit that like and subscribe button. This is the type of content we're going to bring more of. This isn't a how-to channel. This is more of an educational, what to look for and how to look for it and what questions to ask. So guys, if you have any questions or if I can help you with anything, let me know and I will help you out however I can. If you want to work with us to get yours protected and you're in the Cincinnati, Dayton, Ohio area, get on our website and we can get you protected so your vehicle doesn't get this bad. Talk to you soon, guys.